Alright, I think it's time we had a talk. To start off with this section, I'd like to talk about the aftermath of my video on Duncan Can't Die, while also taking the time to call myself out on something. Around a month and a half after the video was posted, Duncan left a very warm comment.
Peter really made a 1 hour 15-minute video desperately trying to cope, LMAO. Taking clips out of context, then saying no because no is not debunking anything, LMAO. Pathetic.
Yeah, real classy there, Duncan. Real classy. Now, obviously, I didn't take too kindly to that comment and made a thread debunking his response. After that, he then proceeds to block me and privated his account, apparently. So that's the end of that, right? Duncan makes an idiotic statement, I respond, he blocks me, and then I move on with my life. However, looking back at that thread, I'm not too proud of some of the things I've said. Case in point, these parts right here. Like, was there any real reason for me to call him an idiot and a dickhead? And what's this? Micro dick energy? What the hell does that have to do with anything, let alone making an argument? This isn't just a Duncan thing either, by the way. This is a response I made to Ween. Yes, that Ween, when he made his video regarding Lolicon. Specifically when he posted, according to him, CSCM. But it was really just fictional characters. A tale as old as time, dude. Hell, who remembers Pig Puncher? I remember calling him a Neanderthal because he was that irritating with his god-awful take regarding Rebecca from Cyberpunk. And of course the typical Lolicons or pedos nonsense that he kept spouting. Looking back at all this, there was no reason for me to say the things that I said. Now don't get me wrong though, their takes were so bad, like some of the worst I've ever seen. And in fairness, I did address what Duncan was saying, but still, my conduct should have been better. Let this be a lesson to all of you watching. If you're trying to debunk something, or if you're trying to reason with someone, using insults isn't a good look. Like, at all. If anything, it gives people an incentive to not take what you're saying seriously. Whether it's bringing up things like pronouns in bio, X-flag in bio, going after someone's appearance or sexuality, etc. But even if you address what the opponent is saying, what's the point of mentioning any of these things? You mean to tell me that someone has a bad take because they're black, bi, trans, etc.? Or is it simply because they're misinformed? And if they are misinformed, wouldn't it just be better to correct them? Would you like to know what got me out of my anti-mindset? Doing my own research, with a little help from some friends of course. Going out of my way to interact and learn why pro-shippers and lolicons like what they like, visiting my therapist, and of course spending some time alone pondering my beliefs. Not to mention the whole discourse surrounding Uzaki-chan and Alulu is kind of what got me into them, both as fans of the characters and the series they're into, and their rather interesting designs. That's what got me to change my beliefs, not calling people pedophiles based on how they look in real life. And trust me, we're definitely gonna get to that last part. Now, I'd like you to turn your attention to this article. Stephen Rudrum, dad falsely accused of being a pedophile on Facebook, found hanged. A dad found hanged in a cemetery was driven to suicide after he was falsely accused on Facebook of being a pedophile, his family claimed. Stephen Rudrum, 48, was traumatized when his name, address, and photograph were published online, with a message calling him a, quote, dirty perv. His daughter, Bethany Beaumont, told the hearing, "They've destroyed an innocent man's life for no reason. It was disgusting." His mother, Carol Matthews, said, "I want to know why someone did something like that. I hope they rot in hell. It took a person's life and we'll never get over it." By the way, do you want to know what convinced people that he was a pedophile? Get ready, cause you're not gonna believe this. You just have to see it to believe it, dude. Steven spotted a 14-year-old girl giving out contact details to a 60-year-old man on Facebook. He then added a comment warning her not to give out her personal details to people she didn't know. That's all it took. This somehow convinced people that Steven was a pedophile and a danger to society. This. Or what about the situation regarding Dandadan, where this person flat out called the creator a predator because it's weird.
As a 29-year-old woman, I have no business watching that. And do you know what? It just drives me mad, because this is why I need mangakas to have their pictures on the back of manga, because that is a predator.
Hell, Chibi Reviews was sent death threats, he was doxxed, had his brother's grave desecrated, and had his art account hacked and spammed with CSEM. But don't take my word for it, let's hear it from the man himself.
It is insane how we got here. It's insane that my family is being doxxed. My family is in danger. I have to call law enforcement to be able to guard my place. I have to worry about my social security number being hacked into. They were actively, I have the receipts, the messages and everything of it, all the IDs. People actively trying to get my social security number. People trying to actively get my phone number. And then I have people on Twitter here, and even people in my comments on my YouTube videos saying and deflecting, like, oh, why'd you mention the Boruto community? It's members of the Boruto community, okay? What else would you want me to say, okay? I'm not playing it safe here. My life is not just in danger. It's my girlfriend's life, my dog's life, my cat's life, and my family as well at this point. And my brother's grave site is in jeopardy. I'm in a state of shock. Just how vile and evil people can be. I don't care if you hate me. You can call me a gooner. Hell, call me a pedo, okay? I don't care, okay? Because I know it's not true. Call me that. I don't care. But when you attack someone's family, and deceased family at that, you're no longer, in my personal eyes, even human anymore. How can you even be viewed upon as a human when you can do something just so despicable?
The funny thing about all this is that if these guys truly believed that Chibi was truly this awful person, this menace to society, why would they go through the trouble to do all this? Hacking an art account and spamming it with CSEM to get the FBI on him? Yeah, it's not like they can trace the user who hacked a decade-old account or anything. Genius move, guys. Actually, now that I think about it, what the hell were they even doing with CSEM to begin with? But regardless, the fact that this is how far people will go over a simple manga panel is insane to me. Chibi, if you somehow manage to see this video, I offer you nothing but my deepest sympathies, and I wish you nothing but the best moving forward with your lawsuit and your future prospects regarding your channel. Okay, so we firmly established that false accusations are not just dangerous, but they're an insult to actual victims and make it a lot harder for them to speak out. So given that, you'd think that a community that detests false accusations and takes them very seriously would hold themselves to the same standard, especially considering that said community has rape victims, CSA victims, etc. You would think that given how much the words pedo and pedophile have been watered down so much, that they themselves wouldn't use the word so carelessly. Right? No! Dear God, where the hell do I even start with this? Alright, let's start with an auntie saying something rather incorrect, if you will.
Lolicon is pedophilia, by the way.
Okay, we can all agree that this is incorrect. Now let's see some of the responses. You're... You're kidding, right? Like, is this some sort of Lolicon Twitter joke I'm not getting? Okay, let's look at another tweet. No, it has features resembling an age group. What age features would you say those characters closest to resembling? Okay, maybe he's trying to catch the Lolicons in some sort of gotcha moment, or maybe he's asking in good faith, genuinely trying to understand the concept of lolly. Who knows, right? So let's see if the responses come up with anything good. Wait, hold on, stop. This is the same community that preaches about how the word pedophile is losing its meaning. Look at these tweets. Dude. And they have the nerve to talk about how pedophile is losing its meaning. But that's not even the worst part. Oh no, son. No. Let me ask you all something. I'm sure we've all seen some people use pictures of real children alongside pictures of lollies to try and prove that they're the same thing, yes? Would you consider that definitive proof that the people using these comparisons are pedophiles? Because if I'm being completely honest with you, that's not proof, and that does not give you the right to label them as pedophiles. Does it warrant suspicion, and is it a cause for concern? Absolutely! However, suspicion isn't proof. If anything, doesn't this seem to suggest that they're schizophrenic? And if they happen to be schizophrenic, chances are that insulting them would cause them to feed further and further into their own delusion. And as I said earlier, if you have to resort to calling them pedophiles, let alone resorting to insults to get your point across, chances are they're not going to take you seriously. Now, going back to what I said about suspicion not being counted as proof, why do you think the police and detectives conduct investigations? What do you think the point of a crime scene is? To gather evidence, of course. Remember, innocent until proven guilty. And let's not forget that when it comes to accusations, some, if not most people, don't care about due process or waiting for the evidence to come out. All that matters to them is that someone was called a pedophile or a rapist, so someone has to burn. Don't believe me? Look back at the situation with Rudderham. Or what about the Duke Lacrosse case, where these three men received death threats after being falsely accused of raping a stripper named Crystal Magnum?
There are threats of drive-by shootings, assaults, people driving by Duke students and pretending to point guns at them. And I came home every weekend because I was scared that something might happen to me.
You can't run! You can't hide! There's nothing to do but testify!
The lacrosse team was forced to forfeit 2 games because of the controversy. Fans showed up for yesterday's game and found out it was forfeited along with Tuesday's match. They were also greeted by protesters carrying signs that say, "Don't be a fan of rapists."
To have people in front of your house banging pots with a sign that says castrate, real men tell the truth, Sunday morning, time to confess, and going out there and saying all these things before any piece of evidence had ever been presented is just mind-boggling.
The 3 lacrosse players weren't the only victims here, though. Their coach, Mike Pressler, suffered an equal, if not worse, fate.
You Google up one of the boys' names, my name, and then, on the computer you saw the word rape, sexual assault, next to your name. That just was, even today I get emotional about it. You wake up in the morning, there'd be signs on your front porch. I'd get up at 5 a.m., take those signs down because I didn't want the girls to see those things.
What did they say, Mike?
One was that just tore me apart, rapist, lover. Another one, do your duty, turn them in, those things, those kind of things. And, that's very hurtful. I don't care if it's 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. It never leaves you.
Yeah. With the rape scandal at full boil here at Duke, Pressler was summoned to the office of then athletic director Joe Oliva, where he was issued an ultimatum: resign immediately or risk being fired. So Pressler resigned. the sacrificial lamb needed to appease protesters and protect the school's gold-plated image.
It wouldn't be until a year later, on April 11th, 2007, that all charges were dropped and the 3 players were declared innocent. But despite all the damage Crystal Mangum caused, she got to walk away scot-free. This whole scandal goes to show the impact, the power of a rape accusation, and just how easy it is to lie about it.
Now some of you might argue and say, but RSK, look at the amount of people who were against Lolly or falsely accused Lolicons of being pedophiles, being outed as pedophiles, predators, or just horrible people. To which I would argue that's nothing more than a hasty generalization. Just because there were tons of antis being outed as horrible people does not give you the right to label people with bad Lolicon takes or incorrect statements as pedophiles. Now, in fairness, I understand where the Lolicons are coming from. There comes a time where they get so fed up with the constant death threats, the rape threats, and being falsely accused over fiction that they want to give the antis a taste of their own medicine.
So the first tweet requires a little bit of context. This anti is responding to a user. I'm not going to show their message because in their tweet, they are describing their child sexual abuse that they faced. And in that tweet, they described how they find it inappropriate to compare their real life abuse to fictional content. Where then, this anti responds with this. Yeah, as you can see, we're starting off strong with this one. Yes, when you're so insane that you celebrate the abuse of a real life person because they want to separate fiction from reality. In this next tweet, we have a person comparing the act of tolerating Lolly's show with the act of tolerating the Holocaust as it was happening. I couldn't think of anything that sums up antis more than comparing fictional content and people tolerating fictional content to people tolerating an act of human genocide. So now we're moving on to our next category, which is kind of a catch-all, including death threats and people encouraging someone to gay men themselves, right? As you can see, you have a tweet here from a few days ago with over 6,000 likes telling someone to gay men themselves for posting Lolly characters. Like 6,000 likes. These people finding the possibility, the encouragement of telling someone to end their life to be socially acceptable, but not someone's interest in fictional drawings. The fictional drawings go too far, but encouraging people to gay men themselves over it is socially acceptable. People even encouraging the CSA victims to be bullied for using fictional content to cope with their abuse.
And take it from me, I came pretty close to tagging a specific someone and spamming them over and over, insulting them and calling them a pedophile, just like they did to me. But then I asked myself, what exactly would that accomplish? Am I really about to stoop to this guy's level? If there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this, never forget that one wrong doesn't warrant a worse wrong, and 2 wrongs don't suddenly make a right. So to all the Lolicons out there, if you find yourself in a conversation and an anti starts resorting to insults or screaming into their microphone like Earth Update stupidly did,
fucking pedophile, dude. I'll just keep calling you a fucking pedophile. That's what I'll keep doing.
Even though
because
the
that's
American
what you are.
Technology Association disagrees with you.
Even though the American Technology Association says I can look at little kids online, I can legally look at little kids online.
You are attacking the lowest
I can
common
legally look at
denominator.
little kids on the
You can't
internet.
actually argue.
I like to look at little boys. I like to look at little girls on the internet. Let me look at my little kids. Let me look at my little kids on the internet.
I'm gonna just
Let me
presume
look
you're
at
not
my
gonna be
little
reasonable. I'm
kids.
just gonna
I
actually
like
get
looking at
my
little boy, little girl. I like looking at little boys. Please let me look at my little boys. Please. I'm gonna cry if you don't let me look at my little girls. Please.
Quote, he said he doesn't care about adults talking sexually to minors in his Discord server, end quote.
Yep.
Word for word. That's exactly what I said.
You don't care about that?
No, dude, I don't care about that. That's exactly what I
What?
said.
Why?
Of course I care about that. Dude, people are just saying anything they want to say. Fucking retards. As I said, it's a fucking chat room. It's been there for like 2 years.
You shouldn't let minors get groomed in your server. That's
Yeah, there's like, it's a fucking server from like 4 years ago. There's fucking no moderation in there, so anything could happen. That's not really my problem. It's a fucking Discord chat, and if people have a fucking problem in there, they can leave. It's fucking like, you can check all my message history in there. I literally don't even talk.
But I do think if there's a problem, like someone getting groomed in the server, you should at least kind of address it and like
But
make sure.
how is
If you find yourself surrounded by someone like that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with withdrawing from the conversation, especially considering that more often than not they just spout nonsense just to get a rise out of people or just for likes. Contrary to what your opponent might say, you didn't lose the debate. Vent to your friends if you need to. Visit a therapist. Take a walk and gather your thoughts. Or hell, just watch some anime and play some games to clear your head. You only have one life. Don't waste it arguing with people on the internet. And to be clear, I'm not saying that if you're met with anti-spouting death threats, rape threats, etc., that you should let them walk over you. Block them, report them, spread awareness of their behavior if you have to. But don't stoop to their level. You're better than that as a person.